I want to start today's lecture by reviewing the principles of emphasis and simplicity within the context of an extended example. Remember, with emphasis, we are actively trying to draw our reader's attention to the takeaway or punchline of our visual. With simplicity, we are trying to remove any roadblocks, any unnecessary chart elements that might distract our reader. Suppose I've been asked to present sales growth data for 5 of my company's locations. Specifically, my boss has been concerned about the Vineyard location and especially cares about how its performance stacks up to the other branches. So after doing the ETL process, I could just summarize it with numbers, but suppose I clicked on one of Excel's default options for recommended chart styles and I get this mess. I will now individually go through a series of changes that will improve the quality of this visual. First, let's remove the legend. I know that this will upset your elementary school teacher or whoever taught you that you always need to include a legend for charts, but they are often an awkward and unhelpful chart element. We don't want our readers' eyes to go back and forth between the bars and the legend to know which color belongs to which city. We can just place the location names on the x-axis to label each column. Because of their proximity, our reader will know to associate the labels with the corresponding columns. Next, we've got a lot of redundant text. The title is Sales Growth Percentage by City. The x-axis has city as a title, but you know what? I'm guessing that my boss probably already recognizes each of these locations as cities. I don't need them to spend even half a second processing that word again. The y-axis also has a title, which again repeats information already included in the chart's overall title. There's no need to repeat sales growth again, and if we just reformat the y-axis to be expressed as percentages, we don't even need a title at all. Again, you might have been taught to be sure to title your axes, but it really isn't necessary. I don't think we've induced any confusion by calling these bars sales growth, measuring them with percentages, and presenting 5 probably familiar locations. Next, we've got grid lines and a black background color which can be distracting and makes it hard for a reader to know where to look. Going back to the principle of figure ground, with my slides the way they are, a white background is probably ideal to provide contrast for my data, which is what I want my reader to perceive as the figure. I can get rid of the border around the entire visual and each column. I don't want too many levels of enclosure, groups within groups. I will also get rid of the shadows next to each bar. Next, I need to improve the use of color in this visual. I've got 5 colors, and this makes each location stand out. Or put better, it makes no location stand out. Remember, my boss was particularly concerned about the Vineyard location, so I'm going to recolor these columns with that in mind. Vineyard is the location of interest, and I've given it a different hue relative to the other bars, which are all gray now. This gets back to the principle of similarity. I want the other locations to be perceived as a group, and I want Vineyard's performance relative to these other groups to be the point of emphasis. To improve the efficiency of processing the information, I'll sort the columns from largest to smallest. And lastly, I don't even need a y-axis at all. I don't want my reader to spend too much time looking from left to right, back and forth, to estimate what the sales growth number is. I think I'll just place data labels above each. And now it will be essentially impossible for the reader to miss the takeaway. Almost instantly, they will see Vineyard with a green bar and a sales growth rate of 15%. And now if we compare this revised version of our visual with the original, I hope you can notice a meaningful difference. If I were to ask a random stranger to calculate the difference in sales growth between the Vineyard and Draper locations, I would wager that the average reader would give a more accurate response in half as much time using our revised visual. I suppose I want to conclude by saying that these changes we've been making aren't just a function of taste. Scientific research supports that each of these changes yields more effective and efficient communication and processing. Not only that, it will also build your credibility if you present these findings in a compelling manner. Now, this example is not intended to be a comprehensive guide for every situation. This was an extended example to show how we can incorporate the principles of emphasis and simplicity in our work. In the next video, I'll outline a variety of additional considerations an analyst should make when constructing high-quality data visualizations.